December 7th, 1941. For most Americans, it was a quiet Sunday, a day for family, for church, for rest. But as the sun set over the Pacific, a shadow fell across the nation, one that would plunge the world into its darkest chapter yet. The naval base at Pearl Harbor, Hawaii, was attacked. Suddenly and deliberately. The next day, a somber and resolute President Franklin D. Roosevelt stood before a joint session of Congress. His voice, usually warm and reassuring, carried a steely gravity that echoed through every radio in America. He wasn't just there to report an attack. He was there to rally a nation from a state of shock into one of unified strength. Yesterday, December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy. The United States of America was suddenly and deliberately attacked by naval and air forces of the Empire of Japan. Those words, so simple, so direct, became instantly immortal. They weren't just a statement of fact. They were a call to arms, a defining moment that would alter the course of history and the lives of every American. Roosevelt's speech that day was remarkably short, just over 7 minutes. But in those few minutes, he did more than just ask for a declaration of war. He transformed a national tragedy into a symbol of American resolve. He painted a picture not of victimhood, but of righteous indignation. He listed the other places Japan had attacked that same day: Malaya, Hong Kong, Guam, the Philippine Islands, Wake Island, and Midway Island. This wasn't an isolated incident. It was a coordinated campaign of aggression. Congress responded almost unanimously. Within an hour, America was officially at war. But Roosevelt knew that a congressional declaration was only the first step. The real war would be fought not just on distant battlefields, but in the hearts and minds of the American people, in the factories, on the farms, and in every single home. That evening, Roosevelt delivered another crucial address, a fireside chat, broadcast directly to the American people. This was where he truly connected with the nation. If the speech to Congress was the official declaration, the fireside chat was the personal conversation. He spoke not as a president to his subjects, but as a fellow citizen, a leader sharing a heavy burden with his people. He was honest. He was direct. He warned them that this would not be a short or easy conflict. He said, "We are now in this war. We are all in it, all the way. Every single man, woman, and child is a partner in the most tremendous undertaking of our American history." This was a powerful message. He wasn't just asking for soldiers. He was asking for a total national commitment. FDR knew the American public had been deeply isolationist. For years, the prevailing sentiment was to stay out of Europe's and Asia's conflicts. The memory of World War I was still fresh, and no one wanted to send another generation of young men to die on foreign soil. But Pearl Harbor shattered that isolationism in a single morning. Roosevelt's task was to channel the nation's shock and anger into a sustained, long-term effort. He warned of sacrifices. The sources of consumer goods for civilian use will inevitably be squeezed, he said, preparing people for rationing, for shortages, for a life where the war effort came first. He spoke of the long road ahead, saying, "We must be set to face a long war against crafty and powerful bandits." He didn't sugarcoat the reality. He told them the truth. There would be losses, there would be setbacks, and there would be dark days. By using words like crafty and powerful bandits, he framed the conflict in moral terms. This wasn't a political dispute. It was a fight between good and evil, between freedom and tyranny. This moral clarity was essential for mobilizing a diverse nation. Roosevelt also understood the importance of managing expectations. He knew there would be initial defeats. The Japanese military had been preparing for this war for years. He warned the public not to be swayed by early enemy successes or by propaganda. "We must guard against divisions among ourselves and among all the other United Nations," he urged. "We must be particularly vigilant against racial discrimination in any of its ugly forms." This was an incredible statement, calling for unity at home even as the nation went to war. He laid out the immense challenge. The production of airplanes, tanks, guns, and ships must be stepped up to its maximum capacity. The production of food for ourselves, for our allies, and for a starving world must be stimulated. It was a vision of a nation completely transformed, a great arsenal of democracy firing on all cylinders. This was Roosevelt's genius. He didn't just declare war. He defined the war for the American people. He gave them a purpose. The purpose wasn't revenge, though anger was certainly a powerful motivator. The ultimate purpose was the preservation of liberty itself. He said, "We are going to win the war, and we are going to win the peace that follows." This forward-looking statement gave people hope. It assured them that their sacrifices would lead to a better, more secure world. Think about the psychological shift he had to orchestrate. One day, Americans were concerned with their jobs, their families, the price of milk. The next, they were part of a global struggle for the future of civilization. Roosevelt's leadership was the bridge that carried them across that chasm. He took their fear and forged it into determination. He took their anger and focused it into production. The days and weeks following Pearl Harbor were filled with uncertainty. There were fears of invasion on the West Coast. Blackouts were instituted. Young men flooded recruitment centers. But through it all, there was a sense of shared purpose that hadn't existed before. The nation, which had been fractured by the Great Depression and political debates, was now more united than ever. Roosevelt's warning of a difficult war proved tragically accurate. The war in the Pacific was brutal. Battles like Midway, Guadalcanal, Iwo Jima, and Okinawa would become legendary for their ferocity and cost. In Europe, American forces would face the might of the Nazi war machine. The road to victory was long, bloody, and paved with immense sacrifice. But Roosevelt's initial message had steeled the nation. He had treated the American people like adults, sharing the hard truths and trusting them to rise to the occasion. And they did. Women went to work in factories, building the machines of war in roles they had never held before. Families planted victory gardens to supplement food supplies. Everyone bought war bonds, investing their savings in the fight for freedom. Looking back, Roosevelt's leadership in those first few days of the war was a masterclass in communication. He combined formal authority with personal empathy. He presented the grim reality but framed it within a narrative of ultimate victory and moral righteousness. He didn't just lead the country into war. He prepared its soul for the trials to come. He reminded them of who they were, a nation of pioneers and builders, a people who had overcome every challenge thrown their way. And now, they would face the greatest challenge of all, together. His words from that time still resonate today, a testament to the power of a leader who trusts his people with the truth and calls them to a cause greater than themselves. The path was difficult, just as he warned, but because he prepared them, they did not falter. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this look into history valuable, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel for more stories like this. Your support helps us continue to bring these important moments to life. See you next time.